Good morning, everybody. Wonderful morning. It's Monday morning. Happy Monday morning to you. It's time for morning manna. Time for morning manna. Got a word for you on this morning and this week. This week, we're dealing with relationships. This week, we're dealing with relationships. We began that whole conversation on yesterday and our word that we ministered at our church, and that we talked about greater together, greater together. So we're going to give Facebook Live a few seconds to get our audience together and join the Manna fam, and then we're going to get right into the word. This whole week, I'm going to be dealing with relationships, greater together. We're greater together. So now, this is how we're going to roll. I need you, Manna fam, to do what you do best. Share, do all the watch parties, do all the things that you do, the likes and all of that. If it's your first, second, or third time, we always shout you out in the Manna fam. And you got to put your comments because everybody got to get the revelations that you're going to get. I'm going to give you the text talk and the takeaway. Going to take a few more seconds. We're going to get right into our devotion this morning. It's morning manna. How was your weekend? Did you have a good weekend? You're looking forward to the holiday weekend this coming weekend. It's the 4th of July, fireworks and eating and all of that. You know what? I kind of felt like I celebrated Juneteenth. I'm gonna be low key this coming weekend. I'm feeling a little different, if you know what I mean. So Juneteenth was my celebration. I'll do a little something on the 4th this weekend, but it ain't gonna be all like I used to do. Hey, it's all about morning manna, and I got a word for you on this morning. I'm gonna talk about relationships all week, and this morning, let's get right into it. How do you filter your friends? How do you filter your friends? The text, the talk, the takeaway. Here is the text. The text is this. It is Ecclesiastes 3 and 9. Ecclesiastes 3 and 9. You've heard it before. Let's hear it again. It says, 2 are better than 1 because they have a greater reward. 2 are better than 1. Ecclesiastes 3 and 9. 2 are better than 1. They have a greater reward. They have a more profitable reward because 2 are better than 1. How do you filter friends? How do you become greater together? Let's talk about a little bit of the context of the text. Here is Solomon, and he's talking about relationships. He's at the end of his life. And, do we really want to hear from him about relationships? Yes, we do. He has had over 700 wives. So I think he can tell us a thing or two about relationships. And interestingly enough, when he comes down to this, he says 2 are better than 1. But he's not had 2 in his life like that. So when we get to this point of understanding this man who could not get enough of anything when he has had everything, he has something to share with us about this whole piece about relationships. He said they give you a greater reward if it's 2 of you as opposed to just you being alone. So how do you filter friends? Let's look at this through the lens of Solomon. The first thing that I think you need to do, as the text is teaching us, is don't get into renegotiating friendships. Don't get into renegotiating friendships. We know in the context of the text, Solomon had gone into unholy alliances by way of all of the marriages that he had, over 700, because he was consolidating the kingdom, and he thought that that was the way to do it as opposed to the wisdom that God gave him to do it, to negotiate better treaties and to negotiate better understandings with the other countries. But he said, if I marry into these various countries, I'll be able to enlarge the kingdom that God has given me. As a result of that, his inability to really negotiate good friendships, he went into unholy alliances. You need to look at it this way. You need to look at it this way. When you get into the business of always renegotiating friendships, What does that mean, Bishop? It means that we're always going over what you did to me. We're always going over that you broke my trust. We're always going over the fact that I think that post was really about me. You said it wasn't about me, but it sure sounded like some stuff that I shared with you. We're always going over and renegotiating the grounds of our friendship. That ain't a good friendship. If I always got to go over and renegotiate how we together, why we together, and why we ought to stay together, not so much. Not so much. That's the first thing. Don't get in the business of renegotiating friendship. Hey, when you broke these grounds of friendship, later. Number two, here's the second thing. Be mindful of folk who always have to do withdrawals and never deposits. They always want to make withdrawals from you, but never deposit. Solomon was the wealthiest man in all of human history. If you calculate his wealth and put it in today's dollars, it would be overwhelming. Jeff Bezos, the CEO and founder of Amazon, is going to be the first trillionaire within probably this year. The first trillionaire. Now, Solomon had more than he had. So you got to know people was always coming to him making withdrawals and never making deposits. They felt like he had enough. So I'll withdraw from you, but I won't make many deposits into you. When you deal with relationships and they never got something to deposit in you, whenever you see them, they're always withdrawing financially, emotionally, conversationally. You can't even get a word in. Filter that friend. Here's the third thing. Third thing is, these are two people you always want to be mindful of when it comes down to relationships. Two people. Don't ever forget these two people. If you don't remember anything I share with you right now, don't you forget these two people I'm about to tell you about. The person who lifted you and the person who left you. Let me say that again. Don't you ever forget the person who lifted you when you were down, when you were going through, and the person who left you when you were down and going through. Don't forget those two people. Don't ever forget them. So, what's your takeaway this morning? The takeaway is this: filter folk because they will help determine your future. I don't have to wonder where you're going. I just got to look at who you with. If you check Solomon out, never had a Nathan in his life, as his dad did, Nathan the prophet, to get him back in the center of the road. Never had anybody like that in his life. Always surrounded himself with folk who could not help him. And when he got to the end, said, this is all vain. This is madness. So, two are much better than one. I already experienced the life, Solomon is saying, by being by myself. The Lord be with you. May his face shine upon you and give you peace. Share the manna. I'm going to be dealing with relationships all week long. Relationships all week long. God bless you. See you tomorrow with more Morning Manna. Bye now.